The Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. Brought to you by Medines Collision Center in Baton Rouge. Take control, choose Medines. Grosse Savant Lodge, south of Lake Charles, the true sportsman's paradise. Treads and Care Company in Central, the tires you need, the service you want. Harvey Auto in Shreveport, Bossier City, the name you have trusted for years. And Gage in Baton Rouge. Get better connected with Gage. Here's your host, Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lee Brecheen, your host of the Sports Scouting Report. I've got a great guest today. I'm really honored. I mean, we've been trying to get this interview done for about a month. I think between Mother Nature and just coaching, being busy, and us and everything else. But I'm glad to introduce Jay Roth, the athletic director, Archbishop Rummel High School. Coach, I want to say coach. I'm going to still call you coach.
Yeah, you can do that.
You know, glad to have you today, man. Glad to have you on. And I want to go back to the time when I met you. I think I was trying to think about it the other day, but I met your dad, Easton, before I met you. But I met you back in the early days, right, when you were first at Rummel. And I remember I was going to scrimmages with your dad. Your dad was in Gonzales. And he said, man, you ought to come up and watch my son. And this is back in, I want to say 96, 97.
95 was my first year.
And so we came up and watched some scrimmages. And your dad took me to a couple of places that had some refreshments on the way, a couple of his old buddies, a couple of great guys, the late Rick Gailey, I remember with us from St. James. And was able to go. And I remember watching you and cut the grass at first. I was like, man, coach does it all. You get on the lawnmower, was doing your own grass at the practice field. But tell everybody in the beginning at Rummel, I mean, it wasn't, 12-0 seasons when you started. I mean, it wasn't, you were building this thing from hardly nothing when you took over.
It was. I graduated from Rummel in 1981 and we had won a district championship, went undefeated, and they had one championship in 85. And coaching at Jesuit and Shaw, I just saw that Rummel, that potential was still there to win. So when that job came open in 95, I decided to leave Jesuit and apply for it, and I got it. And to tell you how where Rummel was at the time, we scrimmaged Lee High School in Baton Rouge in the spring of 95.
Wow. And
we went up there to play them. And it's a scrimmage, no kick. I mean, it was a little kicking, but we won 3-0. So somebody says, wow, you beat Lehigh 3 touchdowns to nothing. I said, no, we kicked a field goal and won 3-0. That's what it was. We were ecstatic just to, have some positive work happen for us. So that was the beginning of it all. Lehigh, a field goal scrimmage, a field goal to beat them in a scrimmage.
And I remember one of their later players right before the school closed was Reggie Torber. Remember Reggie went to Auburn. He might have been a freshman in that scrimmage when you scrimmaged. I think he was a senior in 98. But now they're back, Liberty High School.
Liberty High, I know. They're one of us. They're one of the selects,
That's right. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the guys that you coached, NFL, some that didn't go to NFL, but a lot of great young men that are now in the community and doing great things. And from the Troy Cropods to the Craig Stelts to the Nick Childs to the Jamar Chases. I mean, it's a wide range of players that you coached and going all the way. I remember the first big name at Rummel that I remember was Billy Barone.
Billy Barron. Yeah. Billy Barron with the Tennessee. He was
Tennessee.
Got there, yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have more of Coach Jay Roth from Archbishop Rummel. Coach Jay Roth, the athletic director now. I got to get used to saying AD, athletic director Jay Roth. We'll be right back.
Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host of the Sports Scouting Report. We've got Jay Roth, athletic director, retired coach, Archbishop Rummel, at Rummel, won a state championship. And speaking of ex-players, might not be the biggest D1 guy, but really did a phenomenal job at Nicholls State. Chase Forcade, your quarterback. I mean, talk about that young man and what he accomplished, Coach. 4-year starter, for Rebo. I mean, just went there day one and just took charge and helped Nicholls State come back. I mean, was a part of that recruiting class that brought the Colonels back, where they were what, 2 wins a year, 3 wins a year. What was it like to see your quarterback go over there and do really good things?
First of all, what he did at Rummel was unbelievable. The records he set, state championship as a sophomore, led us to the state championship game as a senior. He had very few losses during his 3 years as starting quarterback. But what he did at Nicholls, you know, I always thought Chase could play big time football, but people get caught up in height and this and that. And he had chances to go to University of Maryland and I believe Southern Mississippi in the end, but he stayed with his commitment to Nicholls. And that was a turnaround. Nicholls had lost like 18 in a row at the time. And Timmy Rebo had signed him as a true freshman. Chase opened up against the University of Georgia. And Nicholls played him off their feet.
I remember that. It was in Athens, huh?
In Athens. I mean, here's this, you know, right out of Rummel High School, Nicholls State's in Athens. They lose by less than 10 points. And then I think they had a 500 season that year. Then they were Southland Conference champions, playoff participants. Chase was the player of the year twice in that league. And just really, I enjoy being a former Nicholls State Colonel. I love, you know, what Chase did in Nicholls.
And then, you know, back in the beginning, I remember you had Benny Mills, went to Florida, you had big D tackle. You had a great D line.
You know, Benny's little brother Lamar was
a real good one, yeah.
Lamar played at Kentucky. I mean, Benny went to Florida and I think transferred to Kentucky. And I know he graduated, but I don't know how much he actually played. But Lamar was a starter for the University of Kentucky, and he was an undersized defensive lineman. He was an all-state player for us. You know, the one that got us started for us was a running back by the name of Michael Burks. He was here when I got here as a sophomore, and he was a man. He's a man amongst boys, and he helped put our program back on the map his 3 years he was at running back. Because back then, we didn't really use the forward pass much.
Right.
Mike rushing for 1,900, 2,000 yards a season, and signed with Auburn and started as a 17-year-old true freshman for Terry Bowden that year. You know, and he played his freshman year at Auburn, but he was the one that got us off, and we've had many very good players come through since. And you bring them up, and I'll talk about them, Lee.
And Darren Barquette was another good running back you had.
Darren was the freshman when Michael was a senior, and then Darren I believe might be the second leading rusher in school history, and he went to LSU. And Nick Saban, it was his first stop when he got off the plane. He came straight to Rummel off of Darren Barquette. Yep.
And then speaking of D-line, that same D-line that had Benny Lamar, you had Brandon Dabdoo that was really good.
Brandon was an all-state. I don't know if he was all-state, but he went to the University of Colorado and started. It was the last of their big-time bowl teams. I forget under what coach, but yes, I remember watching him playing the bowl games, and he had a great career at Colorado.
Yes, but just going old recruiting stories. But Ethan Carter, I remember when he was coming out. I remember you calling me, and I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks before signing day, and you said, Lee, no one D1 wants to give this kid an offer. This is before Nebraska jumped in. And you're like, well, I don't understand why LSU can offer him, yada, yada. And I'm like, man, coach, he's a heck of a blocker. And he could, 6'3", 225, and just a phenomenal blocker for you on that edge.
Lee, you know,
and in Nebraska. And then
he came in late. But, you know, I used to tell the kids, you know, I go back to Damian Williams, and I use Seaton because they're both seniors on the 2012 team. I thought they were both big-time Division I players, and nobody had offered them going into the playoffs. And they were very down and despondent. I said, guys, look, it's going to take care of itself. I promise you. Don't let it affect the way you play. Well, Seaton and Damian in the state championship game against Barb, who was a high-flying circus team that year. I mean, we control the ball. Damian completes 80% of his passes. Seaton catches a touchdown. He has a great game. And Nebraska comes in and offers Seaton. And Seaton visits, commits to Nebraska, and LSU comes in the last week. And I'll never forget, it's a true story. Les Miles calls me up, and we get into a shouting match. And that was the first shout match we got. Telling me it is my job to push a player to the state university. Look, let me tell you, coach. I said, you had a long time to offer this kid. I said, Nebraska came in and offered him, and he's honoring the commitment.
Right.
And then we got into a shouting match after Seaton signed about it. And yeah, he expected me to do his work for him sometimes, you know, and it kind of upset me. I never got in the way of telling kids where to go or not. But Seaton goes to Nebraska, signs as a free agent. plays 4 years with the Bengals, now he's with the Miami Dolphins, just signed a big contract last year. He's in his 5th year in the NFL. So I guess Nebraska was right.
Hey, Coach, we were pumping him in the magazine, but I remember seeing him block. He blocked like a college senior. And like you were saying, if you just go to your games and you watch, you scout, they do their job, then, you know, you don't have to tell them anything. They just go ahead and offer and do their job and offer the kid. But what is he now? 250 a muscle?
Yeah, I mean, he was undersized. It's kind of like they did to Foster Moreau a couple years later, Jesuit. They waited to the last day to offer him. Foster dropped everything, went to LSU. Now he's in the NFL also.
Yeah. And then obviously, you coach Christian Fulton, who's doing a great job with the Titans. Jamar Chase is just, man, that whole recruiting thing, we committed to Michigan and then decommitted from Michigan to LSU. That was an interesting recruiting.
I mean, he was committed to Florida, to Auburn, to Kansas.
Yeah.
But that was an era we had. That 5 years, that 5 years at Rummel, we had some great athletes come through. And the Fultons, I mean, Christian's brother Keith was a great athlete in his own right. He was a tailback on the state championship team that beat Barber. And Christian was a young pup then. But I remember in the spring of Christian's freshman year, the college coach was out watching kids practice, and Jabbar Lucas of Louisiana Tech comes up to me and says, "Coach, we want to offer that cornerback right there." I said, "That's Christian Fulton." I said, "He hasn't played it down yet." He says, "Coach, Louisiana Tech is extending an offer to him." I said, "What do you see?" And I mean, he knew it. Jabbar knew right away that he had all the skills and the tools to be a great college corner, and he ended up being a fabulous, not only college, but a professional. And Jamar, and I think Jamar wanted to play basketball at Rummel and played for 2 years. And but ended up football being his football was his thing. And you know, Lee, we could talk about this in a second. You know, we're known for running backs at Rummel High School, but we've had 5 receivers in the NFL.
And I want to mention in the next segment, Stephen Dunbar, who's done a great job for you. Went to Houston.
Grayson.
So I was going to ask you about him next too, because he's
John Pierre. You know, Jamar. Yeah. It is amazing that a school, Seaton Carter, school that was known for running backs in the early days.
Hey, what does that prove, Coach? You still get your scholarships even if you don't get a lot of stats, right?
That's it. Well, they did have stats.
But I mean, you know what I mean.
That's a misconception about
right. No, but what I'm saying is you don't have to have 80, 90 catches to get a scholarship.
You don't.
You can get 40, 50, and it's normal. It's normal.
You gotta have a guy who can throw it to him. Damian Williams, Chase 4K, Chandler Fields can all throw the football, you know, and those guys on the other end of.
But we're going to talk about those guys. We come back, and Cyril Grayson to me is the story of the century. I want to get your thoughts on how the track at LSU running track, and then how he made it in the NFL after just not giving up many years of hanging on in the NFL, and got a ring last year with Tampa Bay a year ago. But we'll be right back with more. Coach Jay Roth, Athletic Director, Archbishop Rummel. We'll be right back.
If you need a paint job or repairs to your vehicle, go see Medine's Collision Center located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Kincaid Avenue. The number to call is 357-7983. That's 357-7983. Your Baton Rouge Accident Advisors.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host of Sports Scouting Report. Before we go back to Coach Roth, I want to get his thoughts, but I did not know this, but he graduated with the famous actor Eddie Jemison, who was in a lot of Bud Light commercials, also a lot of movies. In your graduating class, 81.
81, Eddie and I were classmates. I see he comes back to reunions. Yeah. And I'm proud. Every time I see him in a movie or a commercial, I say, "Hey, that's my guy," you know?
The other guy, the famous, is Senator Steve Scalise, and also who was just appointed to the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett.
Well, don't know her. I know she was involved at Rummel High School with our Genetians, our acting program. She was a little bit after me, but Steve and I are actually pretty good friends. We went up to Washington about 3-4 years ago, took my son. Steve met us, took him to his office, took my son on the floor, helped him vote. Steve's come by with his Secret Service contingent and that's the team before. So he's a good Raider.
A lot of people. And also want to mention this. I don't want to leave out Ed Daniels and Kenny Trahan. Big time media guys.
What those two guys have done for prep football, it's It's awesome.
Incredible job. And I want to thank Kenny Trahan personally to give me my first shot.
There you go.
1990 was the first show I ever did, was on his show on WWL.
That's pretty good. Kenny's done it for a lot of people.
And one more guy I want to mention, famous, we go on MLB, coach, pro baseball, Kurt Bollinger. Had a long career with the Cubs and several other teams, and now was coaching Shaw. Still the Shaw baseball coach?
Kurt is now working in New Orleans. Him and Kevin Mamahat are business people together.
Oh, okay.
Kurt's son plays for Rummel. He's a third baseman. So I see Kurt in every game. He's doing well.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Son Brock's our third baseman. Yeah.
Turning attention to current college players from Rummel. There's quite a few. Toward the end of your career, you had a heck of a defense with a lot of guys signed, especially Nichols, a lot of state schools, and LSU's been picking them up lately. Pig Cage left Nichols State. That was your corner. Hybrid guys now at LSU. He's going to have a shot to play a lot next year. Kobe Fields was on that defense. Left South Carolina to go to LSU.
They all played for me at one point, but they all finished with Coach Monica on that 19, you know.
Yeah, but that was a good little group, Coach. About 9 of those guys signed.
Kaufman, Cage, Jordan Williams, Kobe Fields. That was a talented group on defense. When you start the season with 7 straight shutouts this day and age in football and any kind of football, that's something to be said.
Coach, what do you think of Kobe Fields? He sat out at South Carolina. I liked him in high school. You coached him, and also, like I said, he finished with Coach Monica. But I mean, I think he's a big pickup for LSU as a Mike linebacker.
Too, because he's just such a rangy player. And I think anytime a young man leaves home, he's going to be more motivated to come back home and improve himself. So I expect good things from Kobe, and LSU got him a good one there.
Would you agree with me or disagree that he reminds me a lot of Duke Riley? A little bit of Duke, the way he's just, could read. Yeah,
Duke Riley. I'll even go one step further. Debo Jones at Jesuit. There you go. Run.
Yeah.
He can he runs from sideline to sideline. I mean, if he can be like either one of those two, they're both playing in the NFL still. So yeah.
Then at Tulane, you had Troy Cropod that did a good job. I remember doing Troy's highlight tape with his daddy. I think you had about 20 to do that year, and I just helped out and did it. And
Troy had a scholarship at Northwestern State. Troy was a guy, he was going to be a late bloomer. Tried to tell everybody he was young. His best football was at him. See, at Rummel, a lot of people don't understand. We coach him, but I still think a lot of our players, they graduated 17, just making 18.
Yeah.
And the best football is ahead of them. And I tell these guys, I said, Troy Cropod was one of them. So there he goes to Tulane. They developed him. He's a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, spends a couple years in the NFL. Now he's living in Nashville, still doing well. A lot of guys that get out of Rummel, like a Ethan Carter, just trust us. His best football is ahead of him.
Remember, Coach, when Troy was offered a gray shirt by Tulane, he ended up getting a scholarship?
I know, that was there. That was back in the day when people trying to get somebody for free.
Blue shirt, gray shirt, whatever you want to call it.
No, he wants a scholarship. That's what he wants. Yes, boy, yeah. That happened a lot.
Turn into Cyril Grayson. And I know you sat back and watched this. You coached him, and he was a great track guy at LSU, but didn't play a down of college football, but for you was a great football player. Were you shocked? And obviously I would not think you'd say shocked, but what do you think of what he's done with the NFL, hanging around, got his opportunity with the Buccaneers?
Well, for Cyril, it's all about perseverance. He never gave up on that dream. And also Cyril was, when he went to the pro day at LSU after becoming he was a 16-time All-American at LSU with all the relays and 400 meters that he ran, his body was in good shape. He didn't have 4 years of getting hit on and running constantly at football practice. So he was a very fresh young man.
His treads were still pretty good
still pretty good, and they're still good. For him, I was so excited to hear Tom Brady's coming back. For him to have another year catching balls from Tom Brady. And when he caught the big pass to help Tampa win the division against the Jets, it looked like his stock was just going to take off again. And then he pulled his hamstring going into the playoffs, and he had a little setback there. So I'm still hoping, I'm so proud of him for just not giving up on his dream of being an NFL football player after the track career he had. And we're very proud of him at Rummel. The thing with Cyril, I coached his dad, my first year coaching football at East Jefferson High School. I coached his dad, he's Cyril, Big Cyril. He was a fullback in the Marine team for us at East Jefferson. So good family.
Go way back with that family.
Yes.
And then obviously Corey Moore's in the portal. He might go back to LSU. Who knows what he's going to do, but another receiver out of the Rummel program. Stephen Dunbar, coach, had a great career at Houston.
Yes, he did. Great career at Houston. He had a stop at San Francisco. He was a year. He actually got activated at one point. But, I turned on the TV this year and the Grey Cup's playing Hamilton, and there's Stephen catching 2 touchdowns in the Grey Cup. He was by school last week. He's excited about Canadian football. He says, Coach, I'm playing football. I'm hoping to get a shot in the NFL again. But he's making a good living. They're high on him. He had a good year. So we have 2 receivers in the Canadian League. Damien Jean-Pierre is also playing. He played this year. He comes from Nicholls State. And Damien was with Carolina for a year, but now he's in the Canadian League. So, yeah.
I want to mention one more guy that no one ever brings up, and they say he's the strongest LSU football player ever. Craig Steltz's little brother, Kevin.
Yep.
Who was your fullback?
Steltz's big brother.
Yeah, big brother. I'm sorry, big brother, older brother.
Big Kevin. Let me tell you, his records will never be broken at Rummel or LSU, and that's a fact, strength-wise.
Strongest dude, huh?
Strongest dude ever. and there you go, recruiters. I know Kevin was upset, and I was upset too. He visited Colorado. Nobody wanted to pull the plug on a 5'9", 5'10" fullback who just blocked for the great tailbacks. And he goes to LSU and proves himself, and was a starting fullback on the national championship team for Nick Saban, and proved himself on a scout team, blocking guys like Brady James. And Coach Saban goes, "Who is this? Who is this scout team player?" And then just his work ethic. So, yeah, but what great memories. But that dude was some strong.
And there's rumors that he could do a true 600-pound bench press, or over that.
He might have done it, but he was well over 400 at Rummel. Incline over 400, benched over 400. That ain't gonna happen no more.
Unbelievable. He hit people like ping pong balls moving around. We're gonna take a break when we come.
Plus, he was a better runner than people thought. When I did feed him the ball a couple of times,
He didn't have bad feet for a guy 240.
he had good feet. Yes.
Coach, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. I want to talk about currently at Rummel and let you brag on the program, all the sports programs. I know that you lead that up now as the AD, not just football. And I want to talk about current head coach Monica, the job he's done. He's won a state championship the first year. Isn't that crazy? I wouldn't imagine if you would have won one your first year, but yeah, it took you long. We'll be right back.
Hey, he made me look good.
Made you look, yeah, it was your guys. But you hired him too. But we'll be right back. We're going to have more with Coach Jay Roth, Athletic Director, Coach Roth, Archbishop Rummel. We'll be right back.
Be sure to take your car and truck for all your tire needs to Treads and Care Tire Company located in Central. The number to call is 331-8144. Family owned and operated since 1971. That's Treads and Care Tire Company.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host of Sports Scouting Report. I'm glad to have Jay Roth on, Archbishop Rummel, taking the time at his school. Coach, how many years have you been at Rummel now?
1995, 27 years.
27 years. So 26th year with the magazine. And I know that you've got plenty of years left, but I want to mention currently at Rummel, all the good things going on. I mean, y'all got soccer, you got baseball, you got football, you got basketball, you got track. Anything you want to promote about Rummel? What's going on?
I'll promote football and Coach Monica. I don't know what year it was, but I got a phone call from Frank Monica and says, "Jay, do you have any openings on your staff?" I said, "Who you have, Coach?" He says, "My son." He was a junior college baseball player, played at UNO, kind of bounced around educationally, first year out of college. I said, "What can he coach?" It was football and baseball. I hired him sight unseen and not even interviewing Nick because Coach Monica.
Frank.
Frank Monica calls about anyone, and now calling about his son. So that's a true story. I hired Nick sight unseen, never talked to him. He was hired. And, he was our head baseball coach, did a great job, took our team to the state championship game twice in baseball. He was defensive coordinator. And I knew he was ready. But he was going to be a head coach somewhere real soon, Lee, and I wanted him to be for Rummel. So I might have given up a few years on my end, but I didn't want to lose him. And
you thought that much of him. You thought that much of him to know this is my guy.
This is my guy. I didn't want him to go somewhere else because I don't know if I could get him back. So the time was right for me to move on and him to step in. And what does he do his first year? He goes undefeated. undefeated state championship, and he followed with a 9-win season the next year. And he's just done a great job with the program, and I'm
Coach,
proud of him. And that's kind of what I expected.
3 state titles in the last 15 years. You won it in 2012 and 2013 back to back. We got about 40 seconds left, Coach.
Lee, I will brag about this. 2012, Archbishop Rummel is the last winner of the last true state championship in the state of Louisiana.
That's right. Before the split.
Before the split.
That's right. I wouldn't think. Yeah. That's the last time.
I had to put a plug in for that.
We need to get it back, okay?
Yes, we do, and that's why I did it. We need to get it back because there needs to be true state champions.
I agree, Coach. Coach, thank you for taking the time to be
All
on.
right, Lee.
Glad we got you, man.
We got it done. Jace, thanks for his perseverance off camera. We got it done, and I'll be seeing you around. Okay, buddy?
He likes you besides you beating Catholic in 2000. Well, they'll beat him in 2018.
Yeah, but hey, no, the 2018 one might have ended my career on Baton Rouge. The semifinal loss, that was a tough one. That one hurt.
Yeah.
In the state championship in 15. But yeah, we beat Catholic a few times.
Back and forth. Coach, thank you, man.
All right, guys. Later. Thank y'all.
Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life. Gage has served Louisiana for over 40 years. Let Gage create a custom-tailored solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243 and help your business get better connected with Gage.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.